Anybody with us yet? Anybody there? Hello, Robert. Up of the day, Robert. Missed you last week. Why is this? How do I turn on chat?
The chat.
Chat.
Oh, yeah, so sorry I missed the last meeting.
Okay, let me turn up my volume. Say that again, Robert.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting.
It happens.
Yeah, it's like because when I was on the meeting, the Meet link in Google Classroom that you had in the like upper corner. I thought we were doing that since I hadn't received an email about the Zoom meeting. So
Okay,
is this in the reference of like, is this what y'all worked on last week?
well, no, I'm just practicing for this week. I don't believe I sent you all the handouts, have I, Robert?
No, sir.
Okay, let me do that right now. Anna's with us.
Hey, Anna.
Okay. Anna, you with us?
And
Okay.
also for
Yes.
I can hear you, Anna. Okay. Anna, did you get did I email you all the classwork?
Yes.
Okay, do you have AutoCAD, Anna, at home?
Yes.
Okay, good. How about you, Robert? Do you have an AutoCAD educational software already?
no, I did not. I did use the email that you sent me for the what was it called? The IntellectCAD.
Right.
So I did download that.
Okay, I'll demonstrate AutoCAD first and then IntelliCAD. Today they're very, very similar. I just
So,
noticed the
where would I
Intelli-
get AutoCAD from?
short answer is you can't.
Oh,
You used to be able to pick any school that how to put this. You used to be able to lie and get it, but now they're asking for proof that you're enrolled in one of their listed schools. And even I can't get free software anymore until I upload something proving that I'm a teacher, and I don't know if teacher of the night school is good enough for them.
Newport News Public Schooling.
I doubt the high schools are on the list of eligible schools to select. Now, recently, they added the Newport News Shipbuilding Apprentice School, but I don't think we dare try that for fear the apprentice school is going to lose its ability to get student software.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of a, non-credit and certificate, and I have to admit, not everybody that gets a certificate really completes the class well enough. So I kind of doubt we're going to be able to get academic or student use software.
So I suppose second question would be, you were saying getting it for free would be through a school. However, if I was to purchase it myself for personal use, how much would that be?
A lot more than you can afford. I'm not, I think you got to pay per year now. And, well, let me see if I could find out real quick. If I can. I'm not sure if it'll say on the Autodesk websites. I'm tempted to say $1,000 a year.
Good God.
Back when you could buy it and pay for it one time only, it was at least $2,000. Let's see. This is Autodesk.com, the company that makes AutoCAD. You can. I think it's easy to get these free 30-day trials. But the 30-day trial will only last
Less
you
than 30 days.
Yeah, and I don't believe you can download it again and again and again. And possibly if you got multiple emails. But getting back in here, products. I don't know if it's going to give the price on here or not. There we go, $1,600 a year.
Oh, that's for the standard one. How much would it be per student?
Well, the student software should be free if you can satisfy them, convince them you're a student in one of their listed schools. I'm not sure there's you
There's
can
like
go
a
to
student edition that you can buy straight out.
Say again, Robert?
And you're not sure if there's like a student edition you could just buy straight out.
Correct. From what news I've gotten, here's AutoCAD Lite. Until we get into 3D work and intermediate, AutoCAD LT will work fine for $420 per year. But for some reason, they don't sell it outright. They insist on you have to have a subscription to it. A lot of people complain about that. I don't know why they insist on.
More money they can make.
Probably, yeah. And I don't know if you Google free AutoCAD, no telling what you'll find. But there's some risk of viruses coming in with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd suggest try. Click here on sign in.
Second, let me pull back up the window.
Well, I don't know if we got time here before class to do this. You go to YouTube and look for free educational AutoCAD, and there's lots and lots of videos that walk you through this process. Hard part's finding one that doesn't have too thick of an Indian accent. And I've kind of exhausted every email I've got. There's, I don't know why. Okay, here we go. Let me try my pburgener@yahoo.com. Next. Did I get that right? Interesting. I never noticed that was misspelled. All right. Well, let me try the Newport News email I got. All the faculty got this nn.k12.va.us.
Mm-hmm.
Students have, what is it, nnschools.org. I don't know why faculty got the complicated one. Password, I believe, is already by default. And I believe it's going to tell me, hey, you tried to get free software before, but you didn't send the proof that you're a student. Let's see. I'm looking for free student software. Free trials. Down. Here we go. Click on the 3 horizontal bars for the menu. Daniel. Click, where was I? Free student software. Specify I want AutoCAD. And we need additional information. You know, you got to prove you're a student. You got to scan or take a pic of the documentation saying you're enrolled in one of the schools. And again, I don't think high schools are on the list.
So I just tried creating a sign in for AutoCAD. It said my email already had a sign in, so I'm going with that, and it gave me the option of high school / secondary school. So
All
I'm seeing
right.
how far this will take me.
All right, keep me posted. But
Yeah. So would area of study be architecture, engineering, construction, or product design and manufacturing?
I think I've been putting down manufacturing, you know, making of ships.
Fair point.
But I get this verify now. Upload a copy of documentation by you and your educational as proof that you attend, teach, or qualified, etc.
When does the class end?
Say again, Robert. I'm having trouble with hearing you.
What's the end date of the class? Like, what month does it end?
Let's see. Elizabeth is with us. Let me go to classwork. And it's in 9 weeks. Where's the syllabus? There it is, August 11 is the last class of the 9. Okay, let me start an attendance list here. With all this high tech, I'm still taking attendance manually. Oh, come
So is there a specific school that the class is linked to, or is it just the Department of Newport News Schools?
on. I'm tempted to say just the Department of Newport News Schools.
Yeah, because like when I type in Newport News, the educational institution, it says Newport News in York County Governor's Health Science Academy, Newport News Juvenile Detention Home, and that's like just the same thing over again. So
Sally's with us. I'm reluctant to tell you to pick one and see what happens.
I'll give it a shot. Actually, I wonder if they have my old high school on here.
Okay, Ali is with us. We got Anna, Elizabeth, Daniel, and Sally. Ali. Let's see. Daniel, Elizabeth, Anna, no, Robert, sorry. Okay, got 5 or 6 so far. Class should be starting in 2 minutes. But okay, again, Anna, you do have the student software already, correct, Anna?
Yes.
Okay, I won't ask where it came from. And Ali. Okay.
Yes.
Last week, I heard you do have software to use at home.
Yep.
Elizabeth, yes, has software to use at home. Daniel, yes. Did your wife have luck, Daniel? Sally, you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't have luck. I tried the student 30-day trial thing, and they continued to ask for credentials, and I didn't have credentials, so I couldn't do it. I tried it
Yeah, so-
multiple times.
Yeah, so the furthest I got with going with my high school was it asked for letter verification, student ID, and transcripts. So
Interesting. I think they've just started requiring that in the last few months.
Frustrating.
Yeah. There are some, for a while I taught a high cost online class, and everybody that paid the $100, whatever, for the textbook got the software. And I don't know what it would cost the Shipyard Night School to, do it the same way as that online class does it. Because the online class, I don't think, is any more authentic than the Shipyard Night School. Neither one of them gave college credit, and it was more or less an attendance. You attend all the classes, you get a certificate, kind of thing. So, but anyway, the night school's got such a tight budget. I have my doubts we'll be able to get a license to, issue discs with the educational software on it. But that surprises me. They asked for scanned documentation even for the 30-day trial.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
I ordered the book as well, and that's not gonna be here till July 2nd. It was supposed to be here Monday, and then I don't know what happened. They
Um,
sent an email saying it would be July 2nd.
what book was I supposed to
okay.
get?
Robert, did you say something? Or?
Yeah, what book was I supposed to get?
Oh, the syllabus, there's a $10 book with the exercises. Let me see if I can open up the classroom again. And I don't know, is anybody getting to the classwork and homework listed in the Google Classroom?
See, Intro to AutoCAD, classwork. I'm not viewing any classwork in the tab.
Okay, 2 other students had the same thing. They'd have this AutoCAD, 143389, but they
Yeah.
would have absolutely nothing when they click on classwork.
Yeah, I'm having that issue too.
I wonder if what happens if you click on this P in the upper right corner.
Upper right corner.
One
There's
thing,
your email.
you have to use your Newport News school system given email ID.
I am. I don't know. Let's see.
And okay, if you're using your what is it, nnschools.org email ID,
Yeah.
you still can't see the week 1, 2, 3, 4, all these classwork and homeworks, then I'm at a loss on maybe for some reason they got it rigged so only the faculty, only teachers can see that. I was counting on students to be able to click on each week and click on the hand exercises. And
Did you try posting them in like the stream area?
I've never worked with, I don't know if I can attach, I've only used this stream area a few times. But I can email you everything that I've already uploaded to the classwork.
If you would please.
But getting back to the textbook, eventually, I can only make copies and give them out for so long, before I risk, getting legal action against me. There it is. Here's the textbook. It's you can also pick it up at the Apprentice School bookstore. But who wants to go to the Apprentice School if you're, not there for something else already?
I mean, I'll try to swing by Wednesday. Or
Okay.
no, I have class Wednesday. I'll try swinging by Thursday.
If it's not inconvenient, I've been suggesting people, search for it and order it on Amazon, but I forget, it was Anna or somebody said it takes 2 weeks to ship from Amazon. I don't know if you got Amazon Prime, if it delivers faster than that. But today
Also, I forgot to say something earlier due to future reference. So I work second shift, which means my shift starts at 6, so I'd have to leave the class at about 5.
that reminds me, I got to turn on the recorder. If I can remember how to return on the recorder. Okay, I think it is recording automatically. Let me double check that. Last week I failed to get anything recorded. Yeah, I think I started it at 2:52. And I guess when I finish recording, it'll have the MP3 file there. Maybe during break I'll see. Well, then there's a chance of not being able to reestablish the Zoom meeting. If I end the meeting, y'all might have to go through the process of joining the meeting again.
Which also, I was under the impression that Zoom meetings could only go up to 40 minutes.
No, that's been waived because of the pandemic.
Okay.
In fact, over the weekend I tested and I was able to record 2 hours and 34 minutes. Mostly just background YouTube videos running. But yeah, they've relaxed that 40-minute requirement.
Okay.
But anyway, is it safe to say that nobody has been able to get to the classroom yet?
I've gotten to the classroom, but however, it's the classwork tab doesn't have anything under it for me.
Okay, anybody else get further than just, anybody able to see the week 1 through week 9?
Yeah, I'm able to see what's in the tab. This is Elizabeth.
Say that again, Elizabeth. You've got
There's stuff in the tab for me.
interesting. For example, week 2, our classwork page 2-1, hopefully y'all could open this tutorial that we're going to do later tonight. Time permitting, I want to assign some of these exercises out of the textbook. Don't know if I dare assign all, 6 or 7 of them here. I want to assign a couple out of the textbook, and email me if I have not sent you the PDF files for the homeworks. Okay, again, Elizabeth, you were able to get into the week-by-week assignments?
Actually, sorry, I was wrong. Last week when I looked at it, they were there, but when I just pulled it up, it's not.
I'm thinking since it says draft under all of them, that may mean that they're not posted. So I wonder what those 3 dots can do for you. Assign, top right.
Students are so. Well, how do I change it to
try hitting assign
say
on top
something
right.
other than draft?
See where it says assign? Yeah, try that. Yeah, that works.
All right, well, it sounds like I got to do that for each and every.
I can refresh the page. And yeah, see it in the stream.
I don't remember.
That's probably why we weren't able to see it.
My boss Tom has sent me some screen captures, and I'll take a hit if I didn't read them well enough. So let me go through quickly here and.
Hey, Paul,
Yes.
this is Sally. I just went into the classroom Google Classroom following the paperwork that you gave us, and it doesn't let me in. And I'm wondering if I have to pick, like it asks you in the beginning, student or teacher, and I pick student. And when I select it, it tells me there's nothing assigned. Is that the wrong thing to do? Do we have to pick teacher in order to see it, even though we're the student?
I would not think so, no.
Miss Connie.
All right, well, it sounds like I'm gonna have to go another week without the benefit of the documents in classroom and get this figured out. And looks like there's a difference between posting and assigning. Yeah, for everyone I change to assign or post, they disappear off of my list.
It's it may be in your stream now since it's in ours.
Probably the post, it will be for us to read, but the sign, it will allow us to upload our projects and you will be able to grade us. Maybe?
That makes sense. So should I have, I don't know if I can go back from, oh dear. It's almost as if once I assign post, I can't revert back to assign. Anyway, I'll work on it during the week. And, I'll assume y'all got nothing with you right now. So, we'll have to look at the procedure on the screen here for class today. You with me? I don't know if I dare try to send out a mass email with all the pages of classwork and pages out of the textbook and pages of the YouTube videos. Well, let's get underway and we'll see what happens. Okay, somebody's calling me. I'll let it go to voicemail. I want to close everything I got open. Starting with AutoCAD, this is as if AutoCAD was just opened up for a new session. I'll double click on Start Drawing to start from a brand new drawing from scratch. Why does it not start up?
New drawing.
All right, this is a brand new drawing here as well. By clicking on the plus sign instead of clicking on the start. But as always, I suggest students enlarge their command area so they got 3 lines of text above the white line.
Question.
What you got, Robert?
Do you want it to be scientific, decimal, engineering, architectural, or fractional?
Well, I was hoping you'd pick the top choice rather than go through all those questions. Let me catch up with you here. Okay, you're coming up with I guess to answer your question, pick decimal.
All right.
And does it ask for the limits? And
1 second. Let me see if let me move the Zoom tab over here. Next, see, it says angular units and decimal degrees. grads, radians, variants. All right. Do you want to use color dependent print style or name style?
I'll tell you what happens, Robert, if you just click on one of these plus signs, do you get that wizard? Or does it start you in a brand new drawing with all the default settings?
Well, this is the first time me opening up drawing with it.
Do you have a plus sign? You see
No,
where
I
I'm
haven't
pointing?
gotten to the drawing portion yet.
What happens when you click on the plus sign?
I don't have a plus sign. I don't have a grid even.
Well, Robert, I'm talking with Robert, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you had no software at all.
No, I got the Intellecti, the
IntelliCAD?
yeah, the Intellecticad.
Okay, hold off. I got IntelliCAD up and running. If I can. Oh, nuts. Everything I got minimized is out of the bottom of my screen here. Damn it. All right, let me open up CMS IntelliCAD. Click register later. It keeps asking you for activation key, and it keeps bugging you, tickling your conscience that hey, you're using this for free. When are you going to pay for it? So just keep clicking register later or OK. Disable macros because I don't know what they do. No. Okay, there we go. My Zoom stuff is covering up my taskbar. Okay, can you see my screen, Robert?
Yep.
I suggest simply click this use a template drawing instead of create an entirely new drawing.
Get back to that.
Create an entirely new drawing in IntelliCAD runs you through all those questions asking you stuff that you haven't learned about yet. So use a template, click next. A start from scratch template in IntelliCAD is simply cad.dwt.
Alrighty.
In AutoCAD, it's called acad.dwt. Very, very similar. I'll click finish. But anyway, give me a minute here for the 4 students with AutoCAD, and then I'll demonstrate IntelliCAD.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So in AutoCAD and IntelliCAD, both, I highly recommend 3 black command lines ahead of the white area here where you type in the lengths and dimensions and angles. So this command area is kind of like the back and forth communication that you have with AutoCAD. Now, as we covered last week, I want us all to have all status bar buttons shown. Now this, by default, IntelliCAD is already the way I want it. So in a minute, I'll go through the same routine with IntelliCAD for the few of you that are using IntelliCAD instead of Shipyard AutoCAD. But to get all these buttons to display, click over here on the customization or the 3 horizontal bars. And I want you to have a check mark on every single button. Even though we're only going to use a couple of them, I want them all visible. So that way at a glance, you can tell if one of these, if the button is visible, you can tell if it's on or off. And if it's on when you think it's off, that may make all the difference the way your AutoCAD behaves. So I want them all visible so we can start with all of them turned off. Again, it's simpler with IntelliCAD because it ships out of the box with everything on that's needed to be, everything visible that needs to be visible. So click anywhere in space to lose that. Last week I had us all turn off every status bar button so that they're all gray and white. None of them have got the blue coloring to them. Okay, and we learned how to, after some time, we learned how to set the polar tracking. But a little crash course review because we got some new students here. First thing we learned is the line command in AutoCAD. And again, I'll show this in IntelliCAD in a minute. Click line, zigzag all over the place. And with everything turned off, you got no guidance. You got no T-square. You got no pegboard snap grid matrix or nothing. Hit enter or space bar when you're finished drawing a line, and it returns you back to type a command down here in the white area. Okay, if it doesn't say type a command in the white area, hit escape, twice for good measure. Every time, don't click on an icon until you see it say type a command. If you see these grips coming up, that's another reason. This early in your training, I want you to hit escape twice to get rid of, to unselect the entities or objects. So if you see if you see blue grips or the command area down here says anything other than type a command, hit escape twice. So double checking it says type a command, I'll click line. After a few lines, vertices with AutoCAD, you can right click and invoke two of these options to the line command. Undo and close. Undo steps you back a segment, kind of like you're stepping back in time. Right click again, or you can click down here on the highlighted option down here on the command prompt, close and undo down here, or you can type C enter or U enter to invoke close or undo. Again, I suggest right click and pick undo to step back in time if you made a mistake. When you're ready to terminate your line, you can hit enter and it'll end right where you last are or were. But if you want to send it to terminate where it began, that would be a good use for the close option of the line command. Okay. Last week we also covered how to erase single objects. Again, double check you got no blue grips on anything, and double check it's saying type a command. If you got blue grips or it says anything besides type a command, hit escape twice. Last week we covered single object erasing. The erase icon is in the upper right corner of the modify panel of the home tab of the ribbon. Again, line is on the draw panel of the home tab. Erase is on the modify panel of the home tab. So double checking, it says type a command. I got nothing, no blue grips for things selected too early. We'll click on the erase icon. AutoCAD comes back telling you, hey, select the objects. Okay, and you'll see this prompt for, I'm tempted to say every one of these modify commands: move, rotate, trim, fillet, copy, mirror, scale, array, all of them sooner or later will tell you to select objects. This early in your training, just click them individually with a pick box. Right now I've got 4 items selected. You can see there's the selected ones are slightly grayed out. If I click on the same one multiple times, it says, hey, you just selected a duplicate, and the total number in your selection set remains the same. Again, you can click more. Now I got 5 in. Once you've got selected what you want the modify command to operate on, hit enter. Again, the modify command we're using right now is erase. Well, there's no other steps to the erase command, so it returns you back to type a command after erasing things. There's no base point and 2 point and specify an angle and specify a type of array, or there's no other questions to the erase command, so it quickly puts you back to type a command. Let me click the undo icon up here on the what's this called, quick select menu, and everything I did during that last pick enter series gets undone. The undo icon on the quick select menus a little bit different than the undo option of the line command. Again, the undo option of the line command sets you back in time, just 1 line segment. And I'll close to make a polygon. The undo icon up here undoes your entire zigzaggy line. Every single vertex is undone. Okay. Again, click the erase icon, click 1 or 2 and hit enter. And you can recover them again for practice by clicking the undo icon up here in the upper left corner. After that, I learned you the polar tracking button on the status bar. Well, not only polar tracking has got an on or off to it. See, it turns blue when it's on, gray and white when it's off. But like nearly all of these buttons, there's a setting behind the on or off. Just like you can have your car radio on or off, but there's all sorts of settings to it, volume and station, and or another example would be your headlights. They can be on high beams or low beams. Well, now everything's automatic, but that's anyway. We want to set polar tracking so that every time you're making a diagonal line, it'll snap into a 45-degree angle, 45, 90, 135, 180. It'll snap in one of the 45-degree increments. So right-click on the polar tracking button. There's a shortcut, says it's already set to 45, but for good measure and to be more like IntelliCAD, I want you to click on the tracking settings at the bottom of the cursor menu. Again, right-click on the button that you've got on and you want to set. Click tracking settings, and this is where I want you to see 45 degrees. And I think that additional angle is from playing with during the week or something. So we want a kind of a T-square to automatically pop up when you're close to a 45-degree angle in your line. And no additional angles at this time. Click OK. Double check its polar tracking is still on. Now draw some lines and check it out. If you're within a few degrees of being perfectly horizontal, that automatic T-square will snap you perfectly horizontal. So you can easily draw horizontal and vertical lines just by being close to the perfect horizontal or vertical direction. But check it out, you can also go in 45-degree angles. So you can go horizontal, vertical, and any 45-degree angle with polar tracking set for 45 degrees. And you might say, well, what if you want a line of a specific distance? Well, click the line icon, pick a random point to begin, rest your cursor so it's in one of those polar tracking directions, right, left, up, down, or any of the 45 degrees, and simply type a distance that you want to go in that direction. I'm going to type 5 and hit enter. Wiggle the mouse a bit, and you can see that I've just drawn a 5-unit line up the 45-degree polar tracking line. Rest it horizontal, type say 3, enter, and I just drew a 3-unit line horizontal. 2 units straight up, I don't know, 7 units to the left, 7 units in the, what is this, 225-degree angle, yep. So with this, you can design your floor plan just by walking around the perimeter of the house, and make the individual rooms by just pointing in the direction you want to go and typing the number of units you want to go. Now the question comes up, well, what is a unit? I'm going to hit enter to terminate the line command. No need to close it. Well, an AutoCAD unit is whatever you want it to be. But once you decide what you want it to be, you got to be consistent. Machine part drawing drafters will likely assume an AutoCAD unit represents an inch. Architects like to work with inches also. However, a civil engineer building a parking lot or a bridge or something, they like to work with an AutoCAD unit representing a foot. Metric countries like to use AutoCAD representing a millimeter. So that depending on where you are and what your profession is, you'll decide what an AutoCAD unit represents, and once you decide, you need to stick with it. Now later on, there is a way you can embed within the drawing what you've assumed an AutoCAD unit represents. But that's much further down your training than we might get into that in the very, very end. I can't remember if we cover blocks in this 9-week class or not. Everybody with me so far? Take advantage of this direct distance capability by taking advantage of the polar tracking and typing the direction you want to go in, or typing the distance you want to go in that direction. Now check it out, you can still pick random points. If you just break away from those polar tracking green dotted lines, there's a polar tracking green dotted line. If you break a few degrees away from it, you're free to go in any direction. Notice that the direct distance continues. If I point my cursor in a random direction, I can send it a specific number of units in that direction just by hitting a number and hitting enter. I got it in a random direction here. I'll hit 5, enter. So it went 5 units in that random direction. Okay. I think that's as far as we got last week. Anybody remember any more that we covered? Oh, zoom and pan. If you want to zoom in to see a close-up of your drawing, simply roll the mouse wheel roll the mouse wheel toward the screen, and it's like you're in a helicopter and you're going lower and lower, closer to the ground, so you're seeing less and less area of your drawing. You're getting a close-up of your drawing. Conversely, if you pull the wheel toward you, it's like the helicopter goes up into the air. And you're seeing more and more square footage or acreage. So roll toward the screen to get a close-up, pull the wheel toward you to see more real estate, more square footage. Another nice thing about the wheel on your mouse, simply push the wheel straight down, and it's kind of like you took a long pole in your helicopter, stuck it on the ground, and kind of pushed your helicopter to the right or left. Nothing moves. It's just that your perspective of the drawing appears different. You know, again, when you zoom in and out, nothing changes sizes. It's just that your perspective changes. So you can zoom in to do a fine detail, or zoom out to do a great big drawing of the whole city if you want. Another nice thing about the IntelliMouse wheel, double click the IntelliMouse wheel and it'll instantly pop you to see all there is to see. That's called zoom extents. So you can zoom in, out, pan right and left, and double click if you want to see all there is to see quickly. Let me show that with IntelliCAD now. I'll minimize AutoCAD. Here's IntelliCAD. Now IntelliCAD has the status bar buttons yellow instead of blue. Yes, last week we started by turning all of them off. There is no menu bar, the three horizontal lines like you have in AutoCAD. I believe if you right click in the gray area, it comes up. Everything is already visible in IntelliCAD except for all these current line
gray
items.
area?
Question?
Yeah,
Right click on your mouse in the gray area to the left of your status bar, and that'll.
Which one's the status bar?
The status bar is all of these icons in the lower right of your screen. Right down here below the command area.
I'm trying to zoom around IntelliCAD.
I can't hear you, Robert. Say that again.
I was trying to zoom around IntelliCAD. All right.
You with us now, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to get IntelliCAD, moved it back over to. All right. Now they're both in the same. I could see both of them now. So.
Okay. But IntelliCAD acts much like in order to have the options of commands display. There's a couple of steps. I didn't show this last week. I think I was invoking the commands in IntelliCAD by typing the first letter of the option. C for close and U for undo. But during the week, I learned that it is possible you can get a cursor menu and click the options with your mouse. And to do that, go to Tools, Tab, to Options, in the Manage panel, and select on the Display tab, check Display Prompt Boxes. And it's not exactly the way AutoCAD is, but it's close. So with, again, tools to options to display, check this display prompt boxes. And then let's go back to the Home tab. Click on line again and check it out. You got this nice little, what's it called, option menu? I forgot already. But here are the options of the command, close and undo. I'll click undo and it undoes, much like AutoCAD. And just undo, it goes back a vertex at a time. I can go forward by clicking more and click close if I want the line to terminate where I began. Okay. IntelliCAD also has this polar tracking button, looks the same, kind of like a clock. Turn it on so it turns a shade of yellow, but we need to know what it's set for. So just like with AutoCAD, right click on the polar tracking button.
Yeah, for a second to find it. Your toggle polar tracking. All right.
Okay, right click on this polar tracking button, pick settings, and very similar interface to what we saw in AutoCAD. We want this early in your training, I want you to set it for 45 degrees. Most textbooks have you set it to 90, but I think you'll quickly find an advantage to setting it to 45 degrees and have those extra polar tracking green lines appear. Okay, once you've got polar tracking on and set, just like with AutoCAD, you get the polar tracking green dotted lines plus the 45-degree lines. And wherever your cursor is, whether it's snapped into one of the polar tracking lines or at some random angle, simply type the distance you want to go. I'll say 3 and hit enter. And there, that line segment I just drew is 3 units at whatever random angle that was. Taking advantage of the polar tracking, I'll rest my cursor and type, say, 3, enter. And there's another 3-unit line. 3, enter. There's another 3-unit line. You just walk your way around the floor plan or the machine part. You can also undo again and close when you're finally done if you want to terminate where you began.
So how do you do the 3-unit line?
Much like AutoCAD, look for the command prompt to say enter. Much like AutoCAD, if you see any of these blue grips or the command prompt says something other than enter, hit escape twice. IntelliCAD prompt says command. It used to be, AutoCAD used to be like that. So when you see command and no blue grips, click on the icon that you want to invoke. Draw your random lines or lines perfectly down a polar tracking line. If you accidentally click the wrong point, you don't have to, hit enter and start over again. Simply undo and be more careful the next time. I'll say 2 units to the right. 5 units straight up. 5 units to the right. Here I'll go 5 units in a random direction. Again, you can undo back in time and finally close when you're done. The zooming and panning is the same in IntelliCAD. Double click to see all the extents of your drawing. Roll it toward to get a close up. Pull it away to get a distant view. Push the IntelliMouse wheel straight down to push your helicopter to the right or left to see more area, to the up, down, right, or left of what you're looking at. Okay, Robert, are you the only one using IntelliCAD?
I'm using it as well.
Who's speaking, please?
Aaron.
Ah, I'm sorry. Okay. Forgot to add you here. And Aaron, you do not have the student AutoCAD, but you are using IntelliCAD, as is new student Robert. Anybody else using AutoCAD? I think the rest of you, okay, I've gotten a little bit behind here. Okay, Samantha, I haven't made note of you joining our class yet. Your microphone's turned off, Samantha.
Hey,
Thank
you were
you.
talking when I joined. Sorry.
Not a problem.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Appreciate. Double checking here. I think I've got everybody accounted for. Robert, Anna, both newcomers. Samantha, Aaron, Daniel, Sally, and Ali. Oh, and Elizabeth. Anybody I miss? Samantha, let's okay, you've got AutoCAD up and running.
Yes, it's on my work computer.
Okay, so I got looks like I got 5 that have the AutoCAD up and running and 2 that do not, so they're using IntelliCAD instead. Ready to cover material for week number 2?
Yep.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, let's turn back into AutoCAD. There we go. We were in this drawing. Nudge it up a hair so I can see the status bar at the bottom. You got only polar tracking on, and remember, right click, pick tracking, and it's set for 45. Later tonight we're going to learn this object snap button, but let's learn a few circle commands before we get into object snaps. Okay, the 3 ways of drawing a circle is the first 2, center radius and center diameter. And near the bottom is tangent, tangent, radius. I want you to practice those 3 today. Okay, center diameter is probably the most common in shipbuilding because drills are indexed by diameter, but let's do them one at a time. So click on this little triangle below the circle icon, and it invokes a flyout that includes options. Not only the circle command, but circle command's options are built into these flyout icons. It makes a difference. Because of that, I want you to go back to the icon, not just hit enter to invoke the last command. Because the icon invokes the command with the proper option. Where hitting enter simply invokes the last command, which is simply circle. You got to manually invoke the option. Anyway, click on circle center radius method. AutoCAD asks you specify the center point for the circle with some options available. Disregard the options since we're using the circle icon. Pick a random point. Next, AutoCAD says specify the radius. For first time, just pick a random distance by clicking with your mouse. Repeat the process again. Click center radius. You can pick it off on the, once you use an icon, it becomes the, the one on the panel. Pick a point and you can type what you want for the radius. Say 1, enter. And that's a 1 unit radius circle right there. Circle, pick a random point. We also covered absolute coordinates. That's in part of today's classwork, so I won't demonstrate it again. But pick a point, either pick with your mouse or type with your keyboard a radius you want. Circle center diameter is the same, but instead of answering the question, what radius do you want, it'll ask you what diameter do you want. So pick center diameter, pick a random point. See how as you pull your mouse away, the length of the rubber band on your mouse is the diameter of the circle. Click it again, pick a point. Pick a random distance for diameter. Just like center radius, you can also type a distance, say 4, enter. Type a distance, say 1, enter. Everybody with me so far? Okay, the third way is comes up in academics a lot. I think gasket makers do this. Maybe if you round a corner, later today we'll learn a fillet method of rounding corners. Check it out. Select the tangent radius method. AutoCAD first asks, well, what do you want? Specify an object that you want the circle to just barely touch. Say I want to put a balloon in this corner here. Well, I'll say, hey, Mr. AutoCAD, I want the circle to barely touch approximately here on this object. AutoCAD comes back with specify the point on the object for the second tangent. Well, Mr. AutoCAD, I want it to approximately touch right here. Now AutoCAD comes back with specify the radius of the circle. Notice that it suggests that you're going to pick 2. It's taking a guess, maybe because that's the last diameter I specified. If you agree with what's in the brackets here, just hit enter, and it's like nodding your head saying, yes, you are correct. Use what you suggest. Or you can override that, pick a different number, say 3, enter. And there it just barely touches those 2 lines and fits in the corner. And again, click circle tangent radius. Pick 2 points that you want the circle to just barely touch. Now the default is 3 because that's the last number I used. I'm going to change it to 1 and hit enter. Okay, later today we'll learn how you can disintegrate pieces of the line and pieces of the circle that you don't want to remain. So you'll end up with like a piping elbow or a rounded off corner of a plate. Everybody with me in AutoCAD circle making? Now be on the lookout if you got lines super tight together, there's a limit to how big the circle can be and still fit. So, and I can't remember, I believe you get an error message now. Let's see. click, click, and I'll say 3, enter. And not a clue why it said it there. I'll say 1, enter. Okay, AutoCAD places it as if the lines could extend until there is enough space between the lines to put the circle. Maybe it put it there because it would have to be so far off the screen. Okay. Let's go to IntelliCAD now for the 2 students driving with IntelliCAD. Same thing. To draw circles, drop the flyout down, pick circle center radius, pick a point and click, pick icon again, point and click, icon again, point. Instead of random click, say I want to specify, say 1, enter. Or say 2, enter. Back to a random distance. Next way, circle center diameter. Same with AutoCAD, same as AutoCAD. Click the icon, pick a point, specify a diameter with the rubber band on the cursor, or specify the diameter by typing it in. I'll say 4, enter. It should be the same size as the 2-unit radius we just drew. Okay, circle tangent tangent radius is in IntelliCAD, just like AutoCAD. Specify it. Specify the 2 objects that you want the circle to be tangent to, and specify the radius, and it'll put a bubble that just barely touches the 2 points that you wanted to be tangent. So you wanted to put a big circle right here between these 2 lines. Click circle radius tangent tangent. Specify the approximately where you expect the circle to touch. Specify a radius, and it'll inflate a balloon that just barely touches in the vicinity of those objects where you click the objects. So far, so good.
One second, let me see if I can get tangent on here. You said, how do you tangent it?
How do you do the circle tangent tangent radius again?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, let's draw a nice V shape. Hit enter to finish. If it's not already on the panel, drop down and specify circle tangent or circle radius tangent tangents. That's why I got an S at the end of tangent. Save space. So circle tangent tangent radius. Slightly different order of the words.
See, circle radius tangents and tangent tangent. All right.
Okay, circle radius dash tangents. Select the 2 objects that you just barely want to touch with the upcoming circle.
All right.
Last thing AutoCAD asks you to do is specify the radius of the circle you want to just barely touch, like a balloon in this, V-shaped, I don't know, ditch cross section. Say, I'll say, 1.5. Enter. Much like with AutoCAD, later today we'll learn how to disintegrate or erase the parts of the circle and parts of the line that we don't want to remain in the drawing.
All right, thank you.
Okay. What time we got? Want to take a break? Hearing no.
Say yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's reconvene. I got 4:16. What do you say we reconvene at 4:25?
Yeah.
9-minute break.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Will do.
go get another beer or hit the head, whatever. Those of you that want to stick around, anything I need to cover again?
All good, Richard?
Good. So, how does turning in homework work? Like, not like that, but like, do you like just take a screen capture of what you made, or?
No, I'd prefer you save your work on your hard disk and then attach it to an email to my nn.k12.va.us, my Newport News School System email address.
Alrighty.
And hopefully within a few weeks, I'll figure out, how students can upload it directly to the classroom. But as we saw a minute ago, I got a lot of catching up to do and learning, how to assign and how to.
If I go to
What was
the
the other-
thing that says class week 2 classwork and homework /create, it allows me to link files and put a links or files and stuff like that. So it'll allow me to upload files from my computer.
Directly into the Google Classroom?
Yeah, so from my perspective, looking at the classwork and homework, to the right of it, it says your work, add or create. So I'll click that, then it'll allow me to upload something from either my Google Drive directly from my computer or directly from my computer.
Yeah, I have used Google Classroom before for another classes. And I have seen that when the teacher puts the assigned work, it's more like for us to upload the homework and they will be able to give us a grade on it. And I think that's the difference between posting and assigning work. Because the ones that you assign and post, I'm able to see them. I'm able to see them the week 3, the list of YouTube tutorials, syllabus, week 2 and week 1, and all the final projects, which were the ones you assigned earlier.
Okay, I'm hearing that I need to change all these, the week 2, week 3, all the classwork and homework folders or assignments and change them all from draft to assign, correct,
Yeah.
Anna?
Yes, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to send a screenshot because now the week 1 classroom and homework, I'm able to see the files, and on the top it says to add my homework, and it says that I will be, if you grade me, it will be from 0 to 100 points. I'm not sure if I'm able to send a picture of the screenshot.
Well, okay, well, I guess I'll, before midnight Saturday night, I'll check both the classroom as well as my school system email account. And some of you will do it via the classroom classwork assignment, and others will email it. I'd prefer to have your DWG AutoCAD file, not a screen capture or a JPEG pic of your work. Eventually, I want to be able to. I want to examine your AutoCAD or your IntelliCAD file to ensure that you got the colors and line types and things that are in the background controlling layers. Now, how can I change a object from post back to assign? I'll work on that during the week because a few of them I started changing them all to assign instead of draft, and then I started changing them from assign to post, and I can't see a way to revert back to assign. So I'll figure that out during the
I
week.
see that some of them where it says like, what says like classwork and homework, it says that's assigned, but however, stuff like the syllabus and the YouTube tutorials, that's posted instead. So like in terms of like the homework stuff, I'm not seeing anything that would be posted.
Yeah, the other ones were assigned, which allow us to upload a file and be graded. I saved quickly what we were doing with the circles and the lines. I saved it as a .dwg, and I was
Good.
able to select the file and try to add it to one of the assignments for week 1. So I think it will be probably easier for you if we upload our homework directly through Google Classroom. And it will still be the file for AutoCAD or the other software.
Okay, Anna, I think you're ahead of me on this Google Classroom stuff. So let's, I still want students to have the choice of either uploading to Google Classroom as, as the Google Classroom is set up to do. But, we still got some students that aren't well up to speed with Google Classroom, and I'm not up to speed. So the emailing it directly to me would be the secondary method. Okay, what time we got here? Okay, 4:23. Might still be students out on break.
Yeah, I'll be back in like 2 minutes.
Okay. Okay, I see sent a couple of messages. Oh, I'd rather not open them up while I'm sharing the screen. Oh, what the hell. Oh dear. What is this meeting password? All right, let me go to an old message, see if I can find the password. I know I screen captured it and sent it to my substitute. For some reason, this Outlook doesn't quite behave the way Outlook does at my office at the Air Force Base. Zoom password. Well, let me just forward this. Yeah, I've already forgotten who was asking me. Ahmed, okay. Back to drafts. Ahmed, okay, hasn't tuned in yet. Not sure why, and I'm not sure if
Did I miss something? What happened?
I think I lost the message I was working on. All right. I'm not sure if Ahmed can join us or not.
What?
Okay, Ahmed was not with us last week. So. All right, where were we? There's the IntelliCAD conscience tickler. I don't know how often it comes up. Just click OK to get rid of it. All right, next on my list is object snaps. By the way, those of you that are newcomers, everything we cover in class is, I've got a YouTube video on it. And, you know, this YouTube tutorial is very, very similar to what I just did for circles in a demonstration in class. So go to these tiny URL, copy paste this out of the classwork file and watch the YouTube video to get a refresher, to get a rerun of what we learned in class. And it might be a good idea to look at next week's handout and check out those YouTube videos that we'll be covering next week. All of them begin with https://tinyurl.com. So save all that http.com, all that stuff at the beginning on a notepad, and you can quickly just type in the Burgener 2A or 2E. I think I ran out of, anyway. Check out here we go. This one is Burgener 2E after the http etc.com. Ran out of space for the entire URL, so just type the far right end. Anyway, let's cover object snaps now. Okay, we don't have object snaps turned on. Let me resurrect AutoCAD. Now, hypothetically, say we want to draw a line from the center of this circle to the center of, say, this circle. Well, AutoCAD's got these little homing devices called object snaps that'll, zoom in, kind of target, send the line directly to the center or the quadrant, top, right, left, bottom, intersection, midpoint. There's I don't know how many, maybe a dozen different types of these object snaps. The way I want you to learn first is by typing 3 letters of the name of the object snap. We'll see a list of the names of the object snap in a minute, but check this out. Launch, double check. I got nothing, no blue grips. It says type a command, so click line icon. I want to start my line at the center of the circle. So type CEN, enter, and AutoCAD realizes, hey, you want to turn on the snap to center object snap homing device. And see how, it's sometimes you got to wiggle your mouse over the circumference of the circle for AutoCAD to recognize, which circle center you want to go to. If you got a dozen circles overlapping, it's, anyway. As soon as you see the homing device icon for snap to center, it's a green circle. Just click. Now I'm back to, flying without instruments. Those object snaps will only work for a single point. If I want to go to this center, I need to use the snap to center object snap again. So type CEN, enter. Slide your cursor on the circumference, and boop, there's your center to center. Say I want to go from the end of this line to the midpoint of this line. End point to midpoint. We'll start line, type END. I want to home in on the end point. As soon as you see the endpoint icon, a green square, go ahead. No matter how far you zoom in, that is perfectly at the end of that line. Even if it's just a random point in space, I'm starting the line precisely at that endpoint. Now check it out. I'm flying without instruments again. I got, no homing devices turned on, no snap to center, no snap to endpoint. I want to go to this midpoint, so I'll type MID, enter, for midpoint, enter. And check it out. The snap to midpoint icon is a green triangle. Circles ain't got no midpoint, but every line has a midpoint. I believe arcs have a midpoint. once we learn how to bust a circle into an arc. So objects that my cursor flies over, it'll home in on the midpoint. As soon as you see that green triangle indicating, hey, midpoint is targeted, left click, and there's you completed from endpoint to midpoint. You understand the concept? Let's make it a little bit easier though, because I realize students hate typing. Say I want to go center of this to center of that. Launch line, hold the shift button down and right click. And there I can turn on the snap to center homing device without having to type anything. Okay, that invokes the snap to center OSNAP for just one point. And come over here, hey, it's not coming up. Well, that's because OSNAPs only work for one point. Hold the shift button, right click, invoke the snap to center homing device again. And now we got it. We can home in on the second circle's center. Say I want to go to this endpoint. Hold the shift button down, right click and pick. I want to home in on the endpoint. Click on endpoint. Now whichever endpoint I'm closest to, every line has two endpoints, so I got to be closer to the endpoint that I want to home in on. I think I chose this guy. So when I see the green square, click, maybe go to the midpoint, shift right click, pick midpoint. Now I'm back to finding midpoints of lines or arcs. So far so good. These are called OSNAP overrides, just a single use object snap for each, and I gotta invoke it for each and every point. Okay, now what if we rig AutoCAD to always home in on center if a center is within targeting distance, or an endpoint if an endpoint is within targeting distance? Okay, we can rig that every time AutoCAD says select point, two or more object snaps get excited and home in on a center if my cursor's near, home in on an endpoint if the cursor's near an endpoint, home in on a midpoint if, okay, that's where this status bar button object snap comes in. Once we set running object snaps in the settings of the object snap button, we'll no longer have to type CEN, enter, or shift right click and pick it off the menu. Depending on which item is nearest, a center point, an end point, or a midpoint, it'll home in on that. It'll target and home in on. So let's turn on object snap. So it's in AutoCAD, it turns blue. Like I showed, like we set the setting of polar tracking, let's set the object snaps that we want to be running object snaps behind or in the object snap button. So right click on the object snap button. Here they're shown, it's a nice little shortcut, but let's do it the official way like we did for polar tracking. Pick object snap setting. And I recommend these 5 always be checked. Let me clear all. And let's show you. Let's just pick endpoint and center point for now. Just those 2. Click OK. Now when we start a line, if we're near an endpoint, the green square pops up. If we're near a center point, the green circle pops up. And bear in mind that some of these points are both center of a circle and end point of a line. So So anytime I'm close to a center point, it'll home in, or if I'm close to an end point, it'll home in. So I can go from end point to center point. Whoops, I slipped off the green circle. What do? Right click and invoke the undo option of the line command and be more careful. Center point, end point, end point, end point, end point, center point, end point. Hit enter when done. Everybody with me that wants to be?
Yes.
Okay, now let's set Burgener's 5 favorite. You'll hear me say that a lot. In fact, the student used to tease me about it. I highly recommend you always, always, always have endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, which is top, bottom, right, left of a circle, and intersection, where 2 objects or a polar tracking line and an object intersect. And IntelliCAD's not quite as capable as I recall, but I want these 5 always, always running. You can always turn off the object snap just by tapping on the button. And you can always override these 5 by typing the first 3 letters of the near point is one, perpendicular is another one that you might use on rare occasion with a no snap override. So with these 5 running, and I think I got them in your handouts written, endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, and intersection. Have those checked, click OK. Double check that your OSNAP button is still on, because you can set OSNAPs but accidentally have the button off. Now check it out. I'll go to line. If I'm near a midpoint, it'll home in on a midpoint. If I'm near a intersection, it'll home in. There's the green X for intersection. Okay, there's an intersection of one of my 45-degree polar tracking lines and an existing line. When I found that, I thought that was really neat. AutoCAD would understand the intersection of a polar tracking line, in addition where it intersects a piece of ink. There's another intersection between a polar tracking line and that circumference of the circle. Near an endpoint, diamond is the quadrant of a circle. So I can go from quadrant to quadrant to quadrant. There's a midpoint, there's a midpoint. There's a midpoint, the green triangle. In time, you'll anticipate and recognize these object snap icons. Quadrant, quadrant, straight up the intersection of two pieces of ink. Again, with a green X, doesn't always show up well. Midpoint, intersection of 2 lines, intersection of polar tracking and a piece of ink. Hit enter when you're done. So again, I highly recommend right-click, pick Object Snap Setting, those 5 to be running 99% of the time. Now notice there's also nearest, tangent, perpendicular, insertion. That involves repetitive symbols called blocks. I don't think we get into that this quarter, but say I want to go to the nearest particle of ink. Okay, not necessarily the end or the midpoint or an intersection, but the nearest particle of an ink. Let's bail out of here, launch a line, and check it out. I'll shift right click and pick nearest. Remember the OSNAP override we began with? Now check it out. Wherever my cursor is closest on this circle is where the line will begin. The nearest OSNAP is with a green hourglass. And I'll use it on a line also. While I got nearest OSNAP invoked by an OSNAP overrun, no other object snap is operational. It won't snap to center. It won't snap to midpoint or intersection. It'll only home in on the nearest piece of ink. No matter how far we zoom in, that line, well, okay, this regen purifies that. I'll stop RE enter, will regenerate. That's another thing I covered last week. When you can't quite, when you zoom in on something and it turns into a stop sign or an octagon, that means the display memory. See how it's got flat sides around. I'm asking for the circle to display a little bit faster than the display memory can handle. So simply type RE or REGEN to regenerate, and that'll purify the display. Okay, you can use the view regen less often if you type view res, VIEWRES, enter. Yes, I want fast zooms. I suggest the view res be set to the maximum possible, 20,000. And that'll assign maximum amount of memory to generate the display. And you'll find you need to regen to purify the display less often. Anyway, we're back down to the Burgener's 5 favorite running object snaps. Quadrants, midpoints, endpoints, intersections. What if we want to draw a line straight down to it so it hits this line at 90 degrees? We don't want to go to the midpoint. We don't want to go to the intersection. You know, that point is not quite 90 degrees. You know, approximately right here is 90 degrees. That would be a good use for the OSNAP override for perpendicular targeting. Type PER, enter, or hold the shift button and right click and pick perpendicular. And for this one point only, it'll home in on the perpendicular of the object your cursor is resting on. Even a circle, it'll strike the circle at 90 degrees. Okay, so rest my cursor on the line, and when I see that little carpenter square icon, click, and that's perfect 90 degrees on either side of the line there. What if I want to go to tangent? Like string is being wrapped around this circle. That would be a tangent point, approximately there. I'm back to Burgener's 5 favorite now, midpoint, intersection. So to go to tangent, hold the shift button and right click, pick tangent, and I'll admit IntelliCAD's a bit behind on this object snap. I'll show you in a second. There's the snap to tangent icon, a line just barely touching top of a circle. So when you see that icon, click, and it's as if that string were wrapped right around this spool. What if I want to make a fan belt go between these two pulleys? Tangent to tangent. You know, I'm going to have to use the tangent O-snap 4 times. It might be worth resetting, you know, clearing all and only having tangent run rather than shift right click for all 4 of those points. Okay, this is an unusual. You clear all and pick one O-snap. Double check O-snaps on, click line. There's my line over a circle. Click in the vicinity of where you think the tangent is going to be, because all bets are off if you click over here. If we're designing, sketching a fan belt, click there, and AutoCAD perfectly placed it tangent to tangent as if the fan belt were going right off of one pulley onto another. Same thing at the bottom. Again, IntelliCAD's a little behind the times on tangent object snaps. And here's the YouTube video, Burgener's 2A. I should have emailed to you all by now an Excel spreadsheet of all my YouTube tutorials. They're on that Excel spreadsheet. It's in the assignment for week 1, and I believe I tried to email it to everybody. We've had a few come in that missed the first class, and I may have forgotten you, so send me an email if you're missing anything. Okay, before we forget, let's set our running object snaps back to Burgener's 5 favorite. End, mid, center, quadrant, and intersection. So far, so good.
Yes.
O-snap overrides by typing 3 letters or shift right click. Only apply to a single point. Running object snaps go point to point to point to point, and the running object snap that gets excited depends on where your cursor is on your drawing. Hovering over a circle, close to a midpoint of a line, close to the end point of a line, close to the quadrant of a circle. So again, in time you'll recognize all those green object snap circle icons. Okay, I got a newcomer. Daniel, I'm not sure what you mean by that's quite the Andrew Pollock you have there. Okay, Daniel pointed out I think this is a password to help you get into the classroom. W7JUMFC. I have not had to use that yet, but I think that's kind of a backdoor way to get in. Missed a lot of chat going on here. Anyway, I'll give you a break after playing with IntelliCAD here. IntelliCAD, the object snap is called entity snap. Somebody once told me if you want to copy something, you got to change 5% of it. And I haven't seen that official, but so IntelliCAD changed some words and rearranged things, I think just to satisfy 5% difference. Anyway, we want to turn on IntelliCAD's entity snap, nearly identical to AutoCAD object snap. We want to right click and click settings and turn on the exact same 5 that we did with AutoCAD. I've already got them set here. They're in a very similar dialog box, but they're in a different order.
Where's it at? The snaps?
Okay, right click on the Entity Snap button.
So you enable running snaps.
That would be turning it on, yes.
Yeah.
But to specify the 5 running object snaps, I recommend go to Settings and select them off of here. I'll clear all. And the same 5 I showed in AutoCAD. Endpoint, center, I forget, you know, they're in a different order, but endpoint, center, midpoint, intersection, and quadrant. In a couple places in upcoming handouts, I'll give you a little reminder of this. Make sure these 5 are running.
Which ones? Add up what form?
Endpoint, center, intersection, midpoint, and quadrant. And depending on which of the 2 CAD systems you got, they're in a different place on the, what do you call this? Pick box, menu, matrix.
Sorry, I'm running a bit slow. I'm trying to like find things. I have to like zoom into the Zoom call, like go over to like the Zoom call, like enlarge it, then go back over to the other one because I'm on my laptop right now. That's hard for me to see like both things at the same time.
I understand. Let me know if I'm going too fast. I've gotten that comment on end of class reviews several times.
Yeah.
So with those 5 running, click OK, double check Entity Snap in IntelliCAD is still on. And now you can, you know, if you're close to a center, it'll home in. If it's close to a quadrant, it'll home in. If it's close to an endpoint, a midpoint, an intersection. Now, oh, good. IntelliCAD also homes in on the intersection between a polar tracking line and a piece of ink. So it'll home in on, you know, where 2 pieces of ink intersect, or where a polar tracking line and a piece of ink intersect. It'll home in on midpoint. I believe the shapes are the same as AutoCAD. By default, they're red instead of green. Okay, this bottom point is both the quadrant and an intersection point. So it kind of depends which way the wind blows and which one AutoCAD turns on. Midpoint, intersection. So you want to go to, now this is where IntelliCAD's a bit behind. I think it'll work for a single tangent point, but the pulley system, tangent to tangent, is a little bit, IntelliCAD's, you know, like 10 years behind AutoCAD on. I'm going to hold the shift or the shift key and right click and say, hey, Mr. IntelliCAD, I want you to go to the tangent of the circle. Okay, so click on Tangent OSNAP. I believe type TAN enter is another way. And you can bring up a toolbar of icons. Now, whichever circle I'm resting on, you get that same line above a circle icon. So I'll click there, and it's like a piece of string went from that wherever I was to wrap around the circle. Now, unfortunately, the tangent to tangent isn't quite so powerful. Let me do an OSNAP override for both ends of the top, and an OSNAP override for each end or both ends at the bottom. You know, last time I cleared all the snaps and set only tangent, but I'll do it the hard way here. Line, shift right click tangent. Okay.
Thanks for class, but I gotta go since second shift. So y'all have a nice day.
Say again?
Said it's been fun, but however I have to go because I have second shift. So I'll just watch the rest later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. I believe my recording is working. So send me an email and
From the looks of it,
Oh.
it is.
I think I'm going to put it in the Google Drive, not in the assignments, but on the drive. So anyway, email me, Robert, and I'll get you the recording.
All right, thank you. Everyone else have a nice day. You too.
See you next week.
See you.
So let's click on where we see that tangent point, but check it out. It really doesn't go tangent like AutoCAD does. Instead, it started where I happened to click, almost like the near O-snap. But let's continue. I'll hold the shift button, right click, and pick tangent again. This one is perfectly tangent to the second circle, but notice the tangent point did not correct itself on the first circle. But there's a workaround. I'll go right back to the first circle, shift right click, pick tangent, O-snap on the circle, and by golly, now that line is in fact tangent to tangent like a fan belt. Let's just erase that first one we did with the delete command in IntelliCAD. IntelliCAD calls it delete, not erase. Again, just enough to keep from getting sued. And I'll use the delete command the same way as AutoCAD's erase. Likewise, shift right click tangent, click, shift right click tangent, and the third point, shift right click tangent, and hit enter to, all right, Burgener, how do we get out of this? There. We'll go back and erase or delete the first line that was done poorly. All right, what happened? Okay, I clicked the wrong red X. That one has to do with layers, which we'll learn in a week or two. I'll click on the delete icon on the modify panel, just like the erase icon on the modify panel in AutoCAD. I'll select that first line and hit enter. So it took an extra line and an erase to do in IntelliCAD what AutoCAD does much easier. All right, I'm keeping you, need to take another break. I got you another 40 minutes. Let's keep going. Next thing on the list is the trim command. Again, let's start with AutoCAD. Now bring up AutoCAD. Go back to drawing 11 where we are. The trim command disintegrates pieces of objects that cross over others. Like if I wanted to erase this part of the circle, I trim it from where it crosses this line to where it touches the same line at this end. Okay, if I want to erase this part, I'd need these two lines to be cutting edges to disintegrate this piece of the circle that crosses between those 2 points. Okay. The trim command is at the top of the modify menu. I was playing with the sister command extend. It does the exact opposite. It lengthens lines until it touches ink instead of trims back until it disintegrates. So click on the trim icon. Now this is not very intuitive. Unfortunately, it started this way in '82 and it's kind of late to change it now for the old dogs and the programmers. But check it out. You click on trim and you hit escape. Back to command, type of command. I'll click trim. Check it out. AutoCAD says select cutting edges. It's a little more intuitive if it said, hey, select what you want to disintegrate. But AutoCAD asks select the cutting edges. Well, I can click click all the cutting edges, 2 or 1 or most often. I think you'll find that agreeing with the default of select all is beneficial. So rather than selecting click, click, click cutting edges, just hit enter to accept the suggested select all. Now everything's a cutting edge, and wherever you click, you disintegrate it. Okay, now notice I tried to click there. Well, there's how to put this. If an object does not cross anything, then you need to erase it, not trim it. So be on the lookout. Plan your trimming so that you don't end up with an object that's orphaned. Like right now, this is orphaned. It doesn't cross anything. So I can't trim it. I need to use the erase command. Recently, AutoCAD added an erase option to the trim command. I won't play with it because then I think I'll have to revert back to trimming again. But, so I suggest go back later and trim those orphaned objects. You can undo if you accidentally trimmed one too many. Go back to trimming again. Hit enter when you're finished. Now, Dan's cell line. Okay, Dan, I guess you're listening on your cell phone. That's good. Now I'll go back and erase those odd things that must have slid off. I'll erase those odd things that are orphaned. Again, you can't trim an object that doesn't cross anything. Either go back later and erase or invoke the erase option of the trim command. Let's go to IntelliCAD. Whoops, bring up IntelliCAD here. IntelliCAD has got a slightly different icon for the trim command. I believe you'll find it runs the same way. Double check it says command and double check you got no blue grips. If you got blue grips or it says select other corner or anything but command, hit escape twice. Click trim icon. IntelliCAD is a little more user-friendly. Hit enter to select all. Okay, I'll hit enter to select all. And now wherever I click will be blown away, provided it crosses other objects. That I cannot trim because it doesn't cross. That I cannot trim. I can trim this guy though. So just machine gun all over the place, shaving off whiskers. Okay, I'm going to orphan one or the other. I got to go back later and erase that guy. Okay, this must, yeah, that one doesn't cross, so I got to go back and erase it. Much like AutoCAD, I can undo. Done on the cursor menu in IntelliCAD is the same as hitting enter on your keyboard. Returns you to command prompt, waiting for the next command. Okay, Aaron, I think you're running AutoCAD. Still with us? Might have stepped out. That's okay. Let's go to the fillet command now. That's the last thing before we do classwork, and I'll assign you maybe 2 of the homework, not all 6 or 7 of them. The fillet command puts an arc instead of a point where lines touch. Okay, say I want to put an elbow between these 2 pipes. That would be a good use for.
Excuse me, Paul, Stan.
Dan, I think we're getting a little feedback. Thank you. AutoCAD's fillet command is slightly below the trim command. It's on a flyout with chamfer. I don't know why this blend is there, but fillet and chamfer are kind of sort of similar. Click on the fillet command. It tells you what the fillet radius is set for.
Excuse me, Paul.
Yes.
I'm having difficulty seeing the screen. Can you make that bigger? It looks like we're only seeing a small portion of your screen. You know what I mean? The AutoCAD section, can you bump that up?
Okay, I'm surprised. I thought I had it set to show my entire screen.
I can see homework assignments in the background and your desktop.
Okay, can you see my AutoCAD now?
I can see AutoCAD, but it's not as big as it should be.
I can maximize it if.
Maximize the other button, the one at the top. Yeah, that one.
Okay. I think I clicked the X instead of the.
No, don't do that.
Got. Okay, I minimized the zoom toolbar that's blocking it. Okay, there. I maximized AutoCAD.
There we go. Oh, thank you so much. That's so much better.
Thanks for telling me about that.
Sorry for the feedback. That was from my cell phone.
Okay. All right. I think we broke free, lost the process. Not a problem. So we got type a command, nothing selected. Click fillet. What happened? Okay, AutoCAD by default, it assumes you want to make a 0 radius. You know, a sharp corner instead of an arc. Most often you'll want to change the radius to a number. So in AutoCAD, right-click, pick radius, and set the radius to something reasonable. I'm guessing 2 will show up well. So I just set the radius setting to 2. I'll continue on and pick 2 points or 2 lines, and there that truncated and created this arc. Now be on the lookout if that's a little too blunt. I want it only to be a 1 unit radius. I'm going to end up with a leftover arc. You know, this arc is not welded to the lines. An arc is an arc. So check it out. Fillet, set the radius to 1, enter, and pick the same 2 lines. That original arc, you know, AutoCAD's not smart enough to know that I want that to be erased. Not a problem. Just go ahead and erase it. You can also put an arc, a fillet between an arc and a line. I'll leave it set for 1. I can put an arc between a circle and an arc, or put a fillet between a circle and an arc. Kind of surprised it truncated part of the circle, but that's okay. Let's see, put a fillet, an arc between this circle and this line. Notice it truncated the line. There's a setting. You can set the trim to yes or no if you want it to truncate or not. Say I'll put a fillet between these 2 lines. One will extend and one will truncate, I believe. Now what if I set the fillet radius to something very, very high? It'll put like a drooping fan belt between the 2. Unfortunately, with the fillet command, I can't fillet a convex arc. IntelliCAD's ahead of AutoCAD in this process. Check it out. I'll click fillet. I'll set the radius to say, I don't know, 8, enter. Pick these 2 circles and it'll put it concave like a drooping fan belt. I can't for the life of me get the fillet to be convex. I want it to go outward. And that's the weakness I have with AutoCAD and fillet in AutoCAD, is that you cannot make a convex arc between 2 circles.
Oh, what if you hit the shift key, Stan?
Not sure I follow.
As you're making the fillet, select the shift key and it should push the radius to the opposite side.
Oh. Let me erase. I got a couple there, so I'll click it a few times. All right, fillet, hold the shift key.
I think you gotta pick them first, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Click. I think it'll maybe shift. As soon as I click the second, it's going to make the arc. I'm back to type a command. Let me undo. Let me hold shift before selecting the second one. I don't know, I get a circle slash saying, hey, that does not compute.
Okay.
I'm at a loss on that. The other CAD systems allow that, though. I'm not aware.
I was making some circles in there not too long ago, but it wasn't, I guess, in the tangent mode, and it would flop the radius to the other side. It was in AutoCAD, and I was in mechanical, so maybe I don't know if that made a difference. I don't know.
I know little or nothing about mechanical, so something to study. But the workaround, if we can't find a way to force a convex fillet arc, the workaround is, you already know, tangent, tangent, radius, circle, and trim it back. So I'll click tangent, tangent, circle. I'll say I want the circle to touch there. And again, it's wise to touch where you anticipate the upcoming object will be. Asking me for specify radius. I think 8 will work. Go back to trim, enter, so everything's a cutting edge. And erase the remnant of the circle. Now let me show you. Looks like I'm going to keep you over time. Let me reduce AutoCAD. IntelliCAD is a little more friendly with the fillet command. Like AutoCAD, it starts with the radius being 0. I'll pick the radius option off this cursor list or type R, enter. I'll change the radius setting to say 8, enter. And I'll pick 2 points and check it out. It's smart enough to, based on the points I pick, it'll know whether to put the arc convex or concave. I'll pick the same circles but close together, and there it put the arc concave. So I kind of like IntelliCAD for that capability. You can place a fillet. Oops, always something. I'll have to punt. I'm not sure what's going on there. Fillet, click, and click. So depending on whether you pick the circles close together or pick the circles at far points, IntelliCAD will do the fillet convex or concave for you. For good measure, click fillet, pick an arc and a circle, kind of extended, that's okay. Click fillet, say 2 lines. Whoops, I think I slipped off of one. Why did it, okay, apparently the radius setting is too large. I'll specify a smaller radius, say that length. And again, you can set it so the trim is off. Phone's ringing again, might be my parole officer, but that's okay. Any question about the fillet command in AutoCAD or in IntelliCAD? All right, the tutorial, we're going to run out of time. I guess I misjudged how much adding IntelliCAD to the program is. But the handout here walks you through, start at this absolute coordinate down here. How do I zoom in? Yeah, I guess I can't. But it wants you to start at the absolute coordinate 1, 2 with polar tracking set for 90 degrees or 45. Go up, just follow the perimeter all the way around. When you get here, invoke the close option to terminate it back where it began. But continue, turn on O snaps and set at least to endpoint. Burgener's 5 favorite will still work, but with at least endpoint running, draw these guidelines to the circle centers. From here, literally put a line on top of a line, 1.5 and down 1. This endpoint up and each way 75 or 0.75. So eventually you got endpoints at which to make the circles with, I think they're all done with circle center diameter. Next step, you add 3 circles using the tangent radius option method. Next, step 3, you go crazy with the 5 favorite O snaps. Tangent to tangent's the tricky one, remember. Tangent does not cooperate with quadrant. That's why I don't suggest it be a running O snap. After drawing all those O snap lines, trim it away and you get this little, I don't know, piece of soundproofing or gasket or whatever this thing is. Oh, and you fillet the sharp corners using a radius of 3/8 for some and a radius of 1 for others. How about we do 6 and 10 in the textbook and email them in to me or upload them to the classroom? Sound reasonable? Let's see what 6, 8, and 10 are.
Hey, it's Sam here. You said 6 and 10 at first, and then you just said 6, 8, and 10. So which one did you want?
6 and 10. I don't know why I said 8. Unusual Freudian slip. I got a folder someplace called Solids where I think I've been saving. Well, let's go to the classroom. Open up the Explorer, Classroom, Class, and I don't think I've changed this to a sign yet. But here's a page with 6 and 10 on them. For those of you that have not yet gotten the textbook, email me. I'll send it to email if you don't download it. As I recall, this number 6 has got a typo that makes it confusing. Let me see, go back to classwork. Can I get to class number 1 now? I'm thinking by setting classwork up. No, there it is. Okay, I thought it disintegrated forever. I should have emailed everybody, and again, I apologize with those that came in late. Week number 1 has got this spreadsheet of errors in the textbook. And which one was that? Why do I not have anything for problem number 6? I thought that did have an error. Anyway, be on the lookout. If I assign one that's on this list, check the little warning I've got. For example, in number 15, if you draw the 8 vertical dimension, then everything else will be off by a hair. So leave that, what the book dimensions is 8 straight up, leave that for last and just draw it end to end. I think they carelessly dimensioned. Here's a 34 is a case where a dimension was missing. Anyway, 5:30. Anybody got any questions or what I say again? 6 and 10. And I'll show you those again. Okay, got some fillet work here. Oh, don't bother with the red lines and don't worry about the dimensions. We'll cover that in future weeks. I apologize if some arithmetic's done, is required. So just these first 2, 6 and 10, I want to receive by midnight Saturday night. call it a class. Okay, class, I'm going to start shutting down.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Email or call me at that 7172 number. I'm kind of on sick leave and kind of telecommuting, so I can't promise I'll pick up the phone right away. Feel free to call me or send me an email. I prefer the what was it, nn.k12 address, but feel free to email to the p_Burgener at Yahoo. In addition, I'll close the class, and I hope the recording came out. See you
Thank you,
next.
Paul.
My pleasure. See you next week.